Should I have to hit okay?
You do. Okay. Okay. Um, Thank you for your interest in the Inflation Reduction Act. This creates our climate moment, the chance for Americans to get subsidies for taking appropriate action to reduce carbon dioxide.
Could
And
you
maybe,
repeat that sentence?
yes,
The chance for,
this is a chance for Americans to the other way I like to say it is to do good by doing well. This is a chance for us to reduce our carbon footprints. And I do want to take a minute and just so we all know what I'm talking about, we all acknowledge that Gainesville is now hotter than it's ever been and getting hotter and hotter every year. What we may not all be aware of is that heat is caused by the carbon pollution that we are putting in the air from burning coal, oil, and gas. So our transportation, our food systems, our buildings are all generating carbon pollution, and it has been collecting in our atmosphere since about 1750, and it's getting worse. And all of that carbon pollution acts like a heat trapping blanket. So the heat that comes in from the sun cannot get out. And that causes all of the impacts that we're so aware of. Where we live, it's mostly heat and lots of rain, but wildfires, drought, migration because crops won't grow, floods, mental health issues. So it's really important that we stop burning coal, oil, and gas. And it's really important that we find ways to take some of that carbon dioxide already in the atmosphere out of the atmosphere. So in August of 2022, our government passed the Inflation Reduction Act. It has other features to it besides the solution to the climate crisis or some actions for the climate crisis. I'm not going to talk about those today. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the act and how it is creating incentives for us to take appropriate and rapid action. You can call it a free electric bank account with your name on it. It is packed with rebates, that's cash back for buying something, and tax credits, which is taking your tax bill and dropping it. And that will help Americans purchase everything from electric vehicles to solar and electric appliances to heat pumps. So there's going to be 5 important benefits of this Inflation Reduction Act. The first one, as I started with, will be climate. It's going to mitigate some of the pollution that Americans are throwing up into our atmosphere. Secondarily, or maybe primarily for most of us, financial benefits. I'll get into those numbers, but they're extraordinary. They're going to be health benefits by our taking advantage of these rebates and tax credits. And I think quite remarkably, best of all, is it's going to create jobs and climate justice in our local communities. Much of what this bill will support cannot be outsourced to a foreign country. So how much money is in the bill? What does it do? It's almost $370 billion dedicated to climate solutions and energy security. And it's largely in the form of tax credits that do not have an aggregate national limit. So every American that pays taxes that does something that gets a tax credit, there's no ceiling on how many of us can take it. There's rebates, which is a different animal. And here in Florida at the moment, our governor has turned down the opportunity for us to have the rebates, which is very sad because they were designed to really help the low and moderate income population in our state. There is we're right now in February of 2024, bookmark where we are in time, there is some consideration that he might reverse that, and we might be able to take advantage of the rebates. The rebates do have a collective limit, so Florida will already be behind the 8 ball. However, if you pay taxes, this is something for you to take a look at. And if you care about the environment, this is something for you to take a look at. The IRA is intended to jumpstart our movement towards clean energy. And then once we're there, the benefits keep on going. So what might it do? Well, the idea is take a look at the scissors. It's intended to cut emissions from the United States, from building, transportation, industry, agriculture, by more than 40% by 2030. That's like 6 years from now. That's amazing. And work us towards a concept called net zero by mid-century, 2050. So I mentioned before the benefits that we're going to reap from using this Inflation Reduction Act. The climate benefits are there. If we have less carbon dioxide in the air, we should eventually have less dreadful extreme events. My own synagogue has a climate action plan, and we have pledged to work towards net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And so I'm bragging on our rabbi and our board of directors for making this commitment. Net zero means carbon production, if we have to emit some carbon, will equal carbon capture. So things that take carbon out of the air, plants is a very good one, and some machines that are in research. If we reach net zero, the temperature of our Earth will stop rising. And that could happen within 3 to 5 years of reaching net zero. If we hold that line, the planet will cool down in the next 30 years or so, one generation, which would be great. So what are the economic benefits? This is money in your pocket. If you took advantage of all of the rebates and tax incentives available, your energy bills on average per American household would drop by $1,800 a year. That's a lot of money that a lot of families could really appreciate and really use. I invite you to stop and think for a minute. What would your household do with up to an extra $1,800 a year that you would save if you went electric? So you can find out how you qualify with the Rewiring America calculator. And what you just do is go to rewiringamerica.org, and you can click on your county. So I clicked on Alachua, and the average household in our county, if they took advantage of the tax credits, because we don't have rebates available in Florida, about $8,900 right off the top of their taxes. So there's a lot of calculators out there. You can play with a few of them. Just Google IR, Inflation Reduction Act calculators, and try a few and see. If we do pass the legislation to accept the rebate money, you'll notice that the rebates are available on an income sliding scale. So if you're in the upper echelon of wage earners or income folk, rebates are not designed to help you, but they are designed for moderate and low income. And I was a little bit surprised. I think of myself as a fairly solid middle American. And if we did have rebates, I personally would qualify for some. And that's kind of cool. Okay. So that's Alachua County. Okay, so I broke the list, and it's very long, and I'm not going to go through each one. I'm just going to highlight a few. But if you were me and you plugged your information into the Rewiring America calculator, and I were going to make things efficient and change out my gas appliances for electric appliances, or change out my electric stove for an induction stove, I would be eligible for $7,800 off my income taxes. That's real money. That's money I'm not paying the government, that the government is essentially incentivizing me to do this. So just to take a look. One of the things that we have a lot of older homes in Gainesville. If we did energy efficient windows and doors, you can see that the credit would be 30% of the cost, up to $1,200. And so that's available for the next 10 years. There's a time limit on these, so you should get going. What else might we do? We might change our gas stove to an electric stove, and the rebate might be, well, that's a rebate, excuse me. I don't want to do rebates because we don't have them. Let's look at upgrading your electric panel. I know, Randy, that you and I are both really very much wanting to switch to an electric vehicle, and part of that would be upgrading our electric panel to handle it. So we will get back a credit of 30% of the cost, up to $600 for that electrician. So, and if you wanted to hire a home energy audit company to tell you what you should be doing, you can get, well, sorry, that's a rebate. I really have to stop looking at the rebate numbers and just focus on the credits. So let's take a look at something called heat pumps. This is the big ticket item. This is your air conditioning and heating system. And this replaces your typical HVAC system. So why would you do that? Well, for one thing, heat pumps save you about 50% on your electricity bill because they're super efficient. And they are better at dehumidifying than standard central air conditioners. So you use less energy and you have more cooling comfort. Heat pumps are really a tremendous thing to consider doing. One of the reasons that this law has such a 10-year span is that if you've got a perfectly serviceable air conditioning system now, you're probably not about to rip it out and replace it with a heat pump right this minute, because it still has a usable life. So you have to, you kind of figure out what you should be doing and then see which things are wearing out and when you would want to replace them. So let's take a look at the other credits available. This panel is for going solar, putting solar panels in your yard or on your roof, and purchasing an electric vehicle. And these are very big ticket items. The total credits available for doing both of those things is almost $20,000 off your taxes. Now, you need to consult your tax planner on timing, because if you're not already paying almost $20,000 in income tax, you don't get to carry these credits forward. So if you only pay $10,000 in tax and you do everything this year, you kind of lost a credit. So you should spread it out over time. But you need your CPA or your accounting person to help you with that. So if you put in a solar system, those are expensive. You can get 30% of the cost back. And if you did a new electric vehicle, you could get $7,500 of the cost back in a reduction on your taxes. You need to be very careful which vehicle you're going to buy, because there are pretty rigid rules about which vehicles qualify for all or part of this credit. So you just Google that online as well. So, and why would you buy an electric vehicle besides wanting to save the planet? Well, because the cost to run one is 40% less than for an internal combustion car or trucks. So you save money on all the gas and all the repairs and maintenance that you need on a typical gas burning car. So I'm going to switch gears to the health benefits. These are the economic benefits. The health benefits have a lot to do with burning gas in your home. And one of the things that struck me as I learned about this particular law was how many kids are impacted with asthma because of gas stove pollution in their home. Plus, if you have lung diseases, this makes them worse. And lastly, I mentioned justice and job benefits. These incentives help reduce pollution inside the home and outside the home. That alleviates health impacts, which are disproportionately experienced by low-income communities, partly because their housing is not as up to date as folks with more wealth, and partly because of neighborhoods being impacted by things like Cancer Alley in Texas or being close to a dump here in Gainesville. Tax credits and rebates, if Florida accepts them, cut the costs for heating and cooling systems, which really disproportionately helps low and moderate income families, helps them survive dangerous heat or dangerous cold outside. And Gainesville this winter has actually had some dangerous cold, and we've had to cope with that. So the jobs that this creates are local, and this brings them right into our own neighborhoods. So I want to add justice and job benefits to climate benefits, financial benefits, and health benefits. So what can you do? Or what can you do? Get yourself an energy audit. Eliminate energy leaks. Check your doors and windows. Upgrade to efficient appliances. So if you've got an older anything, water heater, dishwasher, make sure you get an Energy Star rating on it. Easy to do. You can change the light bulbs. It's important to change the light bulbs. It is even more important to change the laws, but the light bulbs are important. So there's lots and lots of options on LEDs, and they are cheaper than regular bulbs to run. They last 10 times as long because they use less electricity. You could install solar panels if you own your own roof, and you could absolutely lobby GRU and our county commission to work harder on renewable energy. We are moving in that direction, but we could do more. How do you get your money back? If you do any of these things, first of all, in Florida, do you owe any federal income tax? Did your purchase meet the federal standards? The vendor of whatever you're buying will know that. Save your receipts, you can prove it, and then you just Google appropriate IRS forms for Inflation Reduction Act. That's how you take advantage of them. So what else comes next? Lead by example. I put solar panels on my roof, and now 3 other homes in my neighborhood have solar panels. Everybody was curious about it. So do it and talk about it. Educate others. What did you learn today that you want other people to know? Because you are helping people make money and save the planet and create jobs and climate justice in our neighborhood. If you are willing, able, advocate for local and state laws. Put some pressure on our governor to reconsider his refusal of the rebate money. And one of the easiest things that I really love to do is on your phone, download Climate Action Now. This is a joint venture between Elders Climate Action and the Climate Reality Project. And it's super easy. Every morning they say, here's 5 letters we can send for you. And you just push a button, whoop, there's the letter. And then whoop, there's the second one. And if you do enough letters, they plant trees for you. So I'm up to 6 trees have been planted because I've done 6,000 actions. So anyway, that's really a fun thing to do, and everybody can do it. So now go get them using what you learned today. Talk about it. Ask me some questions. Thank you for the applause. I'll go ahead and stop recording.